Good morning. My name is Don Michaelman, and I want to welcome you to the September 12th, 2020 Prescott Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. I'd like to have you note that the commission likes to have symmetry. We have Jim, and we have Tom, and what's his name's in the middle, okay? So I'd like to have the commission members introduce themselves. And before we start, if you could check your cell phone to make sure it's off or on mute, would appreciate that. Jim, would you start?
Good morning and welcome. I'm glad to see you have taken the time to be here with us today.
Good morning. My name is Jim Whiting. Nice to see you this morning.
Good morning. My name is Tom Riley.
Good morning, Tom Hutchison.
And Matt, you don't have to introduce yourself. That's okay. This is an open public hearing and is being videotaped by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representatives of the public media, the public, local, cable, and/or radio stations, and may also be rebroadcast. The number of commission members present is 5. It will require a majority vote of those present to pass a motion. Members of the public, when called upon, are required to state their name and address for the record so we may know who is speaking and be able to contact them at a later date if necessary on that. On to the agenda. First one is the review of the minutes from the July 25th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Are there any corrections? No corrections. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second, Tom Hutchison.
We have a motion to approve and second. Any further discussion? Jacob, would you call the roll for the vote?
Commissioner Whiting,
Approved.
Commissioner Klazewski,
I was absent from that meeting. I have to abstain.
Commissioner Davis,
He's not
Commissioner Riley,
Approve.
and Commissioner Michaelman,
I approve.
Chair Michaelman,
here. We have Tom Hutchins there too. Need to call him.
Tom Hutchinson.
I approve again.
Passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda is REZ 24-005, a request for rezoning from RE 2 acre, rural estate 2 acre, to MF multifamily medium density for La Reserve Garden Apartments, location APN 103200008B. George?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm George Worley. I'm the planning manager for the city. I'm going to give you a brief presentation. The applicant for the project also has a presentation for you following mine. And I want to apologize ahead of time. I have been sick for the past week. If my voice starts dropping and you can't hear me, please wave and I will try to speak up. Thank you.
Excuse me, on your agenda you have B parcel. That parcel no longer exists. We're going for D.
That's correct.
Thank you.
The staff report and all of the documentation references the correct parcel, except the agenda, and I'm not sure how that happened.
Thank you.
However, the information on APNs is actually APNs are a taxing document, not a legal description. So we're still good with the legal description as far as the legal requirements for advertising. So the parcel is 5.63 acres. Current zoning is RE2 acre. The RE2 acre zoning is a standard zoning the city has used for properties as they annex in from the county as a holding zoning generally. RE2 means that it's rural estate, ranching effectively, and 2 acres is a minimum lot size per house. So that's something that typically is a very much outlying area of the city, or it is a holding zoning that's simply never been changed over the years, as is this case. proposal is for multifamily medium density. That zoning would allow residential single family or residential multifamily apartments. The proposed use is an 82 unit apartment complex. One of the first things that we do when we get applications is city staff, planning staff, goes through a list of criteria that's in the Land Development Code. It's something you're familiar with. You do the same thing when you're reviewing this at the meetings. Primary concern, consistency with the general plan, compatibility with surrounding zoning, suitability of the property for the use that's proposed. That suitability thing is often a topography-related issue. Suitability for permitted uses that may be nearby, and compatibility between those uses and what's proposed on the site. And then the availability of infrastructure. That's a big one that sometimes affects us when we're dealing with developments on the periphery of the city. So first step, look at the general plan. The general plan that is in effect today is the 2015 general plan. It identifies this area as part of a commercial corridor that included the mall, the Costco facilities, the car dealerships just to the west of here. It is very heavily trafficked roadway. SR 69 is the highest trafficked roadway within the corporate limits of Prescott. So this area is one that is conducive to commercial designations. Within the general plan, the commercial designation allows for residential uses. Its focus is more on multifamily residential because of its higher compatibility with adjacent commercial uses. So typically an apartment complex type of development is more compatible with nearby commercial properties because apartment dwellers are less sensitive to light and noise than single-family homeowners. That's been proven over time. So the proposal in this location makes sense from the general plan. It is in conformance with the general plan's designation. Again, just to give you the location, it's directly across from Costco, which is the very large gold-colored building just south of it. The property to the north of it belongs to the same property owner. It's being developed as a large lot, single family per the RE 2 acre zoning. It's being built out as sort of a ranchette type of property that meets the minimum requirements for RE 2 acre. So this is down closer to the roadway, subject to more of the impacts of the roadway and nearby commercial development, and is proposed for the apartment complex. Just to give you a little bit of a look at it from an aerial photo, the subject site, and I will talk a little bit more about the emergency egress in just a moment, is an area that traditionally held the home that was on the site when it was a larger single parcel. So the area, I'm going to try this. Hopefully I can make this work. Uh-oh. Sorry, I lost the pointer. So the area just north of the site that's highlighted in red, you can see a lot of grading occurring. That's for the single-family residential development up there. It will be accessed through the apartment complex site. As you'll see from the site plan in a couple of minutes, there's a single driveway that runs through to that property that also provides access to the apartment buildings and the parking lots associated. Just a little bit zoomed in, pointed out the access roadway will head north into the residential single-family property, and that there will be an emergency egress that is crossing the adjacent property to make an emergency connection to a nearby cul-de-sac across the property that also belongs to the same property owner. So the site plan indicates bottom arrow is entrance off of 69, SR 69. You come through, there's a central driveway that goes onto the adjacent parcel to the north, and then the emergency egress goes out as shown on the upper arrow. That emergency egress crosses another property that will require an easement for it. It will be gated or chained, so emergency only access, but it is a requirement for access for the development of this site. There are a number of construction improvements that are planned and already starting along SR 69, and they will affect this area in the future. Some of those are something I'll talk just briefly about in a moment. We do have an ADOT representatives here to answer questions if you have them. SR 69 is an ADOT roadway. It is not within the jurisdiction of the City of Prescott's engineering or traffic engineering department to address the access. That is a state condition. Sorry, one more look. As you can see south of this site, as you follow the roadway out of the project site to SR 69, there is a large area that is outside of the red boundaries of this parcel. That is ADOT right-of-way. It is a very wide right-of-way. There is approximately 100 feet from the edge of the pavement to the property line that would be crossed by a driveway that's permitted through ADOT. ADOT's work on the interchange will include some medians that will prevent traffic from making a left out of the apartment complex. So access into the apartments for eastbound traffic is a left turn lane that already exists. You will be able to turn left to get in. You will not be able to turn left to get out eastbound. Access westbound is a right in and a right out at the same intersection. So again, no left turn across SR 69 will be allowed by the project approval or by the work being done by ADOT. It will block that. Anyone leaving the apartment complex desiring to go east will have to go to the traffic signal to make a U-turn, which is perfectly legal in Arizona. So back to compliance. We've reviewed this project based on its current amount of data. We have a site plan. We don't have any engineering data, and we don't have any building design data yet. That happens after the rezoning. If you recommend approval of the rezoning and the city council approves it, the applicant's next step would be to create those construction plans and submit them to the city for a very thorough review. So we will vet all of this again. I just want to point out also that as this process moves forward, the Arizona Department of Transportation, ADOT, will also be involved in reviewing the plans for the development. So they're involved now, and they'll be involved until we issue permits for construction. We received a petition, which we emailed out to you, I believe yesterday morning, first thing. We got it pretty either late Monday or early yesterday. I'm sorry, Tuesday. I'm lost a day because I was out sick. Many of the folks who signed the petition were identified within a relatively close proximity, so we've just identified some of the areas. As you can see, the property where the emergency egress will connect is a little cul-de-sac property, and a number of the persons concerned live along that cul-de-sac property. The emergency egress, again, is emergency only. There will be no regular traffic across there. And then based on our review of code requirements for this project, city staff is recommending approval of the rezoning. It is in conformance with the general plan, and it meets our general layout and site planning process. And with that, I would be happy to answer questions. Again, we do have a presentation by the applicant that can follow. If you want to ask questions of me now, or if you want to wait till after that, up to you.
Why don't we have questions for staff now? Tom?
George, can you give us a feel for where the city's at on supply and demand for apartments? Are we in an oversupply situation or undersupply situation? Or
We have a lot of proposed apartment units that are seemingly in the queue but not being built at the moment. Based on the last housing study that we did, and by the way, we're doing a housing needs assessment again in the near future, we're undersupplied with multifamily, undersupplied. If all of the ones that have talked to us about building come in, we will probably be close to where we need to be. But again, most of them aren't moving forward at the moment. So we kind of have a situation of promises but no action at the moment.
Other questions for staff? Would the applicant like to make their presentation?
Can you switch to the applicant presentation, please? Thank you.
Here.
Big arrow advances it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Good morning. Thank you for being here and thank you for your time. My name is Michael Lafferty of Lafferty Development, and I reside at 3910 East State Route 69 on this property. The back portion of this property, which you'll see some illustration, is my new home. So the front 5 acres is what we're REZ 24005, workforce housing. And the back parcel of 9.7 acres is my personal residence. So I reside in Prescott, Arizona. The other project that you'll know me from is Dell's View on 2051 Willow Lake. We built 200 units there, and it was a very successful project. And I don't own it anymore, but it's been a very successful project for that new owner. I'm going to turn it over for the project review to Art Kanajan, who is AAK Architecture, to explain these 2 maps we have included to show the proposed development and to show the distances between us and the current neighbors. And thank you. Let me turn it over to the team is Art, Gary Kelly, Kelly Wise, and Craig Dorn, Lafferty Construction, which will explain all the different aspects. And then I'll wrap it up and I'll answer some questions. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Art Kanajan. I've actually have been working in the Prescott area for about 20 years. I was first involved with the remediation project of the Prescott Valley Town Hall building. And we've been working with Mike since, I guess it's been at least 2018 on various projects up here in Prescott area and also in the greater Phoenix area. I've had an office in Scottsdale since 2013. I've been an architect for much longer than that. But we're very excited about this project. I personally just love the Prescott area. Every time I come up here, I'm in a lot of joy, so to speak. This project, we don't want to bring in a project that kind of destroys some of the best qualities of this parcel. And one of the wonderful elements is that I'll call it a creek. It's a matter of semantics on the east side, which is quite wonderful and also used by the wildlife. So we wanted to make sure that we don't even touch that area and keep it as much as possible to its pristine look. Obviously, we will conform with the urban wildlife interface requirements of the city of Prescott when we do our detailed buildings and landscape and civil drawings for the project. Another thing that we are trying to do is, again, enjoy or have the people that will live here enjoy what's already there, and by the creation of this beautiful trail, part of it will be on the private property of Mr. Lafferty, and the other part will encircle our property, including going through the area that's closer to the to the creek. The project is intended to have as little impact as possible, but also to conform. It's workforce housing, so the buildings are not going to be big. They are not going to be buildings with corridor systems or anything else. They're basically what I call garden apartments. So everybody has access right from their parking spots up the stairs or right on the ground floor to their units, multiple stairwells and everything. And there will be amenities as well for the residents, including the pickleball courts and the swimming pool and community building also. You'll see that the project is divided along the access and access road, where half of the units will be on the west side and the other half, more or less, will be on the east side. The buildings, when they sit on the sloped areas, will be 2.5 stories, meaning that one part of it will be lower because the grading is higher, and then the other part is going to be 3 stories where the grading drops down. The buildings on the west side are strictly 3 stories high. Basically, again, the landscape is going to be enhancing the site as well, and we are quite set back, as Mr. Worley said, from the state route. And usually, when projects of this nature are done in, I'll call it a bit of a valley or lower elevation location, they have less of an impact visually overall to its surroundings versus maybe a development that's built on top of a mesa or a flat table, where you see those buildings from quite a distance, even if they're not very tall. So this more or less is I'm not going to say you're never going to see it, but being in this lower location also has a lesser impact on its overall surroundings. I think I don't have much more to say. If there's any questions, of course, I'll be pleased to answer. This shows you the distances to the other existing, particularly single-family residences, and you see that there's quite a huge distance. This is an overall kind of like aerial site plan where the development is going to be. On the top end is Mr. Lafferty's private home, and you see the trail that's encircling not only the private home but also our development. It's basically about 30 feet wide, and around our area it will be basically a pedestrian trail, again, for the enjoyment of the people that live in the community. And you're seeing that kind of like snake-like little brown string. That's the access or emergency exit fire lane that we've been working with the city to establish. It goes to Butterfly Drive, but it's basically never used except for, heaven forbid, an emergency situation where an additional exit would be needed off the site. And this is, just to emphasize again, where you see the dark green on my right side of the slide is where that creek is. You can see the creek kind of like winding north-south on close to the property line. And all that dark green is all the existing vegetation, all of the trees in that area. What we don't see is the enhancement of the walking trail, but you'll see some of the existing trees and bushes on this area there. And then all of the lighter green is the vegetation that's going to be planted throughout the development. And this is, yes, I'm going to pass the baton to Mr. Kelly. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Gary Kelly, 146 Grove Avenue, Prescott. For a couple years now, we've been coordinating with Public Works to try to figure out water infrastructure for this development. And this map is showing you on the lower left side, we'd be connecting to Walker Road, which is the road you turn in to get to Costco, south off of SR 69. And we're going to tap a 12-inch main there and extend a 12-inch main easterly in the ADOT right-of-way, bore underneath the highway, bring it up into the apartment project, and that circuitous route that Art was talking about, we've worked with the fire department. Well, twofold. Where we locate the main, they need to get maintenance to it. So a road's needed for maintenance of the water main. Secondary, the fire department is wanting to utilize it as a, total emergency wildland fire emergency ingress egress either direction. So the water main connects to Butterfly on the lower right side of that slide, and then northerly from the apartment project, it continues north to the Lafferty Ranch, where the barn and the future house and stuff, and another hydrant up there. That would be a private water main. But the main from Walker Road, 2,200 feet over to Butterfly, would be a public main that's been coordinated with both Prescott Fire Department and City of Prescott Public Works. So the main thing for me to discuss for you guys and for the adjacent owners in Yavapai Hills is about on the far right side of that page where it says Butterfly Drive. There's a hydrant on the east side of that sheet, and that hydrant was tested in June of 2023 to see what available flows we have. The issue that Public Works has is Walker Road is in Zone 7. Butterfly Drive's in a water zone called 11. The pressures in Walker Road are extremely high. The pressure at Butterfly is about 60 psi. The flow out of the hydrant just east of the cul-de-sac was like 375 gallons a minute. When the fire department asks that you take that down to 20 psi, what available flow would be available to the fire department, it comes out like 464. When we make this connection from Walker to Butterfly, that same hydrant is estimated to get 920 gallons a minute, which is closer to the current requirements of 1,000 gallons a minute for residential housing. So the 1.5 million that it's going to cost to go from Walker to Butterfly is not just for this apartment project. It'll improve the westerly, certainly 20 homes, more like 2,500 feet, because the other thing it does is it gives a secondary loop where right now, when you get past Hummingbird in Yavapai Hills and you start going westerly, it's all just one snake to Butterfly Drive. There's two cul-de-sacs that come off of it, but there's no other looping water system. So if something happens in that 2,500 feet, there's no water to the residences west of wherever the break in the water main occurs. So this is both redundancy and increased fire flows by making this $1.5 million water main extension loop to tie into Butterfly. And it even further helps development to the east, such as La Quinta and the pad that's north of La Quinta, because it ties that zone in over at Sunset and Bear Way, the main entrance into Yavapai Hills. That Butterfly zone, of course, water flows down to Sunset. So there's those assets to the city should this water main get constructed and connect to Butterfly Drive. Those are all benefits. The other thing for the apartment project, the sewer main is going to be in the center of the project, and the sewer main extension is going to go north to the east side of the private development, the 9.7 acres, and it's going to connect to a manhole at the northeast corner of the 9.7 acres. That's that green line that's shown on this map. So, I don't know if you have any questions on that or.
Questions? Tom?
I'm not sure you're the right guy, but I've got a shopping list of a few minor details. If you could answer for me.
Mike or I maybe. What?
Well, let me try a couple of them on you.
Okay.
Do you see this complex as being dog friendly?
Do I see the complex as being dog friendly?
Are pets allowed?
That'd be a.
Yes, yes, sir.
Where do you see the dogs doing their business?
Keep going.
You want to go back to Art's picture?
Sir, maybe keep the whole presentation team up there for various questions, if you don't mind.
Thank you for the question. We have a 30 to 40 foot setback around the entire project and a walking trail that goes around the apartment complex, and then it also connects into another walking horse riding trail around the entire 10 acres left, plus some of the 9 acres that I own to the east. So yes, it is dog friendly, and yes, we have a trail. And yes, we will have bag stations for pickup.
Sir, did we interrupt your presentation? Do you have more to present?
Yes.
Why don't we do all your presentation, then we'll go to questions. Is that okay, Tom?
Thank you.
You want the next one? Should be on your slide there.
Yep, I think we're good. All right, good. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for hearing us this morning. My name is Craig Dorn. I work for Lafferty Construction. I will, if this project comes to fruition, I will oversee the construction of the project. I'm also a resident of Prescott Valley for a little over 20 years, and have worked in construction here in town for that time. So the slide that we're looking at right now is from the traffic impact statement that we had done by CivTech. As part of our due diligence, we had to do this traffic impact analysis and submit it to ADOT and the city for the impact that it will have on Highway 69. As you can see on the top table there, we look at total trips generated by this project. Will be about 600 trips per day. If we go to the ADOT table at the bottom, we see that Highway 69 generates, in 2023, generated about 39,000 trips on Highway 69. So our 600 trips, so we will be adding about 600 trips to a 39,000 car count, which is right around 1% of the total trips. One of the concerns that we've had with ingress egress was the fire department asking about left turn lane into the project. There is an existing left turn lane. The traffic impact statement did recommend keeping that left turn lane. We submitted that to ADOT, and they have approved keeping that left turn lane eastbound into our project. There is a median project that's coming up that is on the ADOT plan that will include raised medians as well as I call it a dog bone in the center of that left turn intersection, which will limit left turn westbound into Costco and left turn eastbound into our project, but prevent left turns crossing the median from either side. So access into our project will be deceleration lane westbound, which will be right turn into our project. Coming out, there will be a right turn only coming out of our project. That will be limited by, again, the median, as well as a pork chop or a raised median, similar to what Costco has in our exit. It will be a full stop right-hand turn out of our project. No acceleration lane. ADOT does not want an acceleration lane that close to Walker Road. And then, of course, the left turn coming in. No left turn, again, no left turn coming out of our project onto 69. So we see that the trip distribution is about 60% of the trips will be going towards Prescott. 40% of them will be to the east going towards Prescott Valley. Those will go out to the right, up to the traffic light, U-turn there, and go back on Highway 69 at the Walker Road intersection. I think that covers what I need to cover, and at the end I'll address any questions, or I believe ADOT is here that can address any questions about ingress and egress on the 69. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you one question.
Sure.
Before you leave.
Yes.
Is there any provision in your ADOT plan for a public transit pickup, a bus stop?
There is not at this time, and I don't think there's been any discussion of a bus stop or I don't think it has ever come up.
Thank you.
That might be a great question for Anthony, so during his time, maybe he can address that question. I want to talk about some of the accomplishments. A little history. Purchased the property, it was bank-owned. It was a horrible scene with vagabonds living on the property, rats, food. First thing we did was clean out the existing house and the barn, got rid of the barn. It was needed to go. We did a parcel 2 acre or 2 split in 2022 through planning and zoning. It became 9.7 acres to the south side of my personal ranch, and 5.63 acres coming to the front. The 5 acres for the commercial development. We had 2 PAC meetings, not one. We had a PAC meeting on 5/4/23. They gave us a list of things to do. One of the first things was work with ADOT to make sure we got a left turn in, because we knew there was some planning forthcoming. So I got with ADOT 3 years ago before I bought the property and started talking about their plans for medians and how they would deal with Costco. We have worked with Costco, and they were a partner in wanting the left turn lanes in and maintained. We received a building permit for the barnuminium a week ago. And the building permit, if you want to write this down, is B2305-081. The barn is a barnuminium, which has a 350 or 400 square foot house, including the office. That was the rules of the city. I wanted to build a barn first just to secure equipment and materials, etc. And in order to meet P&Z through George and his group, we had to build a residence in there. So one day it'll be the caretaker's residence for the horses. Some of the accomplishments that have already been spoke about. We have worked with ADOT for 3 years. It got very serious about 6 months ago. We happened to intercept the beginning of a design F0633, which takes it from Lee Boulevard to just east of Costco. which the improvements, I believe the plans are around probably 60%. Anthony can probably comment further. We have a meeting there tomorrow again. We meet every 3 weeks. We have a water line going under the current 69. The water line comes from Walker, due east, due north, into a PRV valve. And that PRV valve is what, if Butterfly starts reducing in pressure, there's more water pumped into Butterfly for fire safety. I gave you ADOT project number and the locations. We worked closely with Public Works on the planning of from Walker Road to Butterfly. Engineering 2406-014 is the current number. The plans, do you have first comments? We do have first comments on that set of plans, which shows the water line strictly going through the routing that we showed you. And that is in review and have worked very closely with them. It is a benefit to Butterfly and Butterfly residences, and so that went very well. We applied for a WSA application 24035, and we'll attend a WIS meeting on 10/1, and we're requesting 10.74 acre feet for the entire project. I'd like to bring up the monetary benefits to the city, and the water meter permit is $54,000 for 8-inch water main. The water line construction, bared at my cost, is $1.5 million, and it could be higher, but I like giving you the lower numbers, or realistic or hopeful numbers. So we do have bids. And we are going to award a contract upon approval and start the water line to get water on the property. Main reason is the apartments have at least another year of planning and permit if approved. But we need water to the ranch for combustible materials. The buildings are steel and we're using steel studs at this point to progress. But we cannot bring any combustible lumber on that property until there's a manhole. A fire hydrant, excuse me, we have manholes already. Fire hydrant and approved by ADEQ. The annual property tax, if it's valued at $24 million to $28 million, is around $240,000 to $280,000 annually. The TPT tax on construction costs, the entire project will cost $16 million, fingers crossed, and that'll $906,000 in TPT tax on construction. And that's doing the calculation of 0.65 times is the calculation is correct per my accountant. The annual rental tax is $30,000 in the beginning, and as rents grow, because they do grow, that number increases. But I thought you'd want to know the monetary value that the city would receive in reference to this project. So I'm not new at building a workforce housing. This is a workforce housing project. I am a workforce housing a contractor and developer. And here are 2 existing projects that we have completed in downtown Phoenix. This particular project is on the Phoenix Public Housing. I took it a lot. I built 140 units. This is the first built. This is built for 2 or 3 years. It's at 93+%, and it's for workforce housing. This project right here, we just finished in November of 22, and it's 235 units. It's micro units. It's on 12th Street. It services many students, many of the doctors who work at that research center on 7th Street and Van Buren. We're 93%, and we've had great success. Just to show you workforce housing numbers, average rent downtown our average rent is 1206. Their average rent is 1350. We beat them by 10% on the Van Buren and 12th Street project. No, excuse me, Imperial. On the Van Buren project, the 12th Street, the micro units, we beat them by 27%. They are market-driven projects, but we work with the city to be able to give us the densities we need and the size requirements. I mean, the one way to get to this chart, I'll explain it. I'll get to a chart on medium income. George.
Can you put the presentation back up?
So we beat the downtown rents, and that was our goal. And we worked closely with City of Phoenix to have affordable properties at Imperial, which they have redeveloped. They have redeveloped all of their public housing. We across the street from them, we abut them, and they've been a great neighbor, and they're doing very well with their development. To also, we'll count them. This is another project, 354 units in Coolidge, Arizona. Last night, P&Z approved it unanimously on the basis of workforce housing because Procter & Gamble, Nikola, Inland Ports going there across the street. There's a lot of growth in this area, and so workforce housing is very necessary, and that will be done in 6 phases, probably over 6 years. And again, we beat the AMI on this one as well. Here's one in Texas, 194 units, and we're doing a light tech, 55 and older, 9% tax credit. Again, affordable housing. We bought the property from the city of Irving, and it's a 3P public-private partnership. And this is going to council in January of 2025. We expect to be successful as well. It fits the plan, and it fits downtown. This is a project called Casa 54. It's across from Lucid in Casa Grande, and it's a workforce housing project. And if you notice, we have garages to the right of the plan. And those garages are for workforce housing type equipment, tools, and security. And we did a study, and we find that those are going to be very well received and rented very quickly. Wanted to do, as a requirement after speaking with P&Z, they wanted to see where our prices are. And even though we're market driven, we can meet workforce housing prices. So if you look at the median income in the middle of 80%, I look at the middle, the second, and the third to average incomes in Prescott. But at 30%, so guidelines of workforce housing is don't spend more than 30% of your income on rent. So here we did it, and per our square footages and per the AMI, so we're allowed 1,706 if you make 68,000. We're allowed 1,066 if you make 42,000. Our rents are from 1,200 to highest 1,700, shooting for 1,500. One thing we don't have in control of is building costs. So they have come way down, at least 30% down. So here's your median income. We meet the middle and the bottom, and our 2 bedrooms will be less than 2132, but probably up towards 2,000. So we're within it if you make that much money. A workforce housing project is built for fire, police, food and beverage workers, construction workers, and that's exactly what houses the Imperial project. the Van Buren project is more students, doctors who don't actually come home very often. Okay, just like to wrap up with a couple things. Benefits of workforce housing, pricing and AMI schedule I showed you. Low land is low density. We're only using 10% of the land on the 5.63 acres. Low utility costs due to the proximity of the buildings, and all of our water fixtures and lighting fixtures are on the conservation, and all of our uplight meets all the conservation for uplight. And as far as we have amenities, pickleball courts, pool area, and one clubhouse. The TIA that we did that shows the 600 car count versus 39,000 was required by the city in both packs. And so we did it right away. We did a TIA, which leads to a TIS, which that now takes the TIA and digs into it deeper and gives ADOT more answers that they need for the acceptance and to move it forward with ADOT to get the approvals that we have received. And it was required by both ADOT, the city and the PAC meetings, and ADOT. And again, our turnout is 60%. And so that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Just a minute. Questions? Tom?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'm a little interested in the workforce housing aspect of this. You've talked about what the rents would be. What are the different sizes of the apartments that you're going to be constructing, hopefully?
Our apartments, and we've been successful at this. Our apartments are 500 studio, 650 1-1, and 800 2-2. And that's what allows us to get to those numbers in rent. So it's a reverse engineering of the size. The micro project that we have of Van Buren and 12th, we have a 350, full kitchen, full appliances, washer, dryer, ADA acceptable bathroom. And we have 350, 400, and 600. We would drop the 350 for now on. We would only start at 400 for the micro units. But that's why we're so low, because people are starting not to be able to afford apartments because of inflation, gas prices, et cetera. And we've been extremely successful. But we work with AAK, and we've been very successful at smaller units. And most people don't come in a building and say, well, the last one I saw, this one's 150 square foot less. It's not, as long as we have full appliances, nice wood floors, a nice ADA bathroom, washer and dryer, and good communications as far as networks, we have won on those two projects especially.
Okay, have you worked with our local workforce housing committee?
No, George and I had spoke about that, and I think that I missed a meeting due to...
We have several items that were pre-scheduled for meetings, but I've transmitted on Mr. Lafferty's offer to talk to them at a future meeting. And just a quick point on the affordable housing aspect of this. I think Mr. Lafferty pointed out pretty clearly that his affordability is a market-driven affordability. He scales the size of the units to get to the workforce level affordability. The city has offered no density bonus or other incentives for his project.
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
And Mike, I couldn't tell from the small site plan that we were given. Is there any provision for electric vehicle charging?
Yes, sir. I'm an electrical contractor. That was my first company, and we still wire our apartments. And yes, sir. I was asked that question last night, actually. And yes, we have an area. It'll need to be designed by APS because there's 50 hertz, 60 hertz, there's 200 amps, there's 400 amps. You can charge a car now in 15 minutes, depending on the amperage. And so, and some cars have the 50 hertz. So these charging stations have become quite complicated because Tesla just had a single plug in your garage, and then no one could get charged because they were all Teslas. And I actually have a funny story, but I won't bore you. But the world's changing, and they're multi-use, and yes, they're necessary, and yes, we will have them, and it's right up our alley to install them on the load side of the transformer at 480 volt or 12208 volt. So, yeah, but the answer is yes. That was probably too complicated.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
I have a question regarding the westbound turn lane. That's going to be a dedicated turn lane, correct? And how long is that turn lane?
The turn lane heading west into the city, the deceleration lane is how many feet? 450.
No, I want to say the left turn lane.
The right turn lane. Right turn.
205 feet deceleration lane, somewhere around.
It's per ADOT requirements.
The only concern I have about that is, of course, I drive 69 once or twice or three times a day at 50 miles an hour, which is 5 over, and people are constantly passing. So I'm just concerned about safety issues because of the way people drive down 69. Often they're driving at least 55 plus.
We are concerned as well, and I believe the decel lane is longer than 205 feet. I think it's 400, but we'll see.
This is a small scale drawing, but it gives you an idea of the length versus the size of the streets.
And to that note, we proposed acceleration lane, and it wasn't long enough, number one, and ADOT specified that they want the cars to come to a full stop. So that, because if you do a pork chop, you can just kind of turn the pork chop and think you're getting in, and there's cars coming. ADOT required a full stop going right out of the development, going westbound out of the development. So a deceleration lane in and a full stop out to the right. And I think that ADOT's here for probably a reason, most likely. And we are working with them on their current design on project F0633. And in fact, we have a meeting tomorrow again, ongoing meetings to coordinate the underground water through under the road and the routing of the water line through one of their easements. And so we've also worked very closely with Public Works to design the line. And I think that we have done our homework plus.
If I could add something to that.
Sir, could you come up to the microphone, please?
So the initial design of the deceleration lane and the left turn lane in all went to ADOT for their approval. There was 2 rounds of comments that came back from ADOT that specifically talked about the gap, the length of the queue, how many cars would stack in the left turn lane. So it has all been all based on ADOT's guidelines of speed limits and loads of cars going in and out of the project. So ADOT has reviewed all of that information, and based on their expertise, they have made comments, and all of those turn lanes have been adjusted to their standards.
Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? I had one, sir. On the emergency access road, you're going to be putting that in yourself as
Yes.
a developer?
It's
What-
not, excuse me, it is not a road. It is a easement for a water line. It is at 22 degrees. It's a road that certain vehicles could probably go up and down, but it's a fire lane. And we've been working with Don and Chuck and the design Gary has, and that's the design they came up with. And it will be maintained. And I mean, it will not be, if you look at some of the fire lanes in these areas, you can't get through them because they're wooded now. So it is our responsibility to keep it as a gravel road, and it'll also be a hiking trail. You walk up that hill and back, you'll be tired. So
Okay, that was the questions I had, sir. What
But
type
it
of
is-
road
it-
and who's going to maintain it?
it is not an access road. And I want to talk about the last thing is that we went to Yavapai Hills, HOA, about 120 members came, residents came, and we gave them this presentation fully, and we answered their questions. Many people were happy to see the project, and they had a lot of curiosity. But one of their main questions was, is that an access road up to Butterfly? The answer is no, absolutely no, and absolutely no. The fire department, it will have it chained off at Butterfly, and the fire department will have a key, and they can use it when they want. Again, we will walk up it or ride a horse up it or something, but it is not an access road. And they were very pleased to hear that. That was one of the rumors.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was the information I was looking for on that.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? George, do we want to have ADOT speak?
Do you have specific questions for them? Unless you guys want questions for them, specifically about their interaction.
It appears not, but thank you for coming.
I have a question.
Jim?
Jim Whiting. This is a question for ADOT. I'm thinking about what your schedule might be for the improvements that are planned on ADOT's part for the entrance to this. I'm thinking about the construction traffic in and out of there. Are those improvements going to be completed before that time?
So it's really going to depend on how this project progresses. We have our development.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, apologies. Anthony Brozich, District Administrator with ADOT. Again, it depends on how this project progresses.
Sir, you need to bring the microphone up a little more to, yeah.
Is that better?
Thank you.
All right. If this project progresses before ours, they have a chance to get in, but once our project starts, there's a good chance they may not be able to build their right turn lane until after we're done. We tend not to have competing projects in the same area. One can ultimately delay the other, but not knowing where their schedule is, we plan to bid this next year. I think it's the spring of next year. So if they're at that point yet to build before then, they can get in. If not, they're going to have to wait till afterwards. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for ADOT? If not,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lafferty's been working with us for a long time and has become proficient in our acronyms. He threw a bunch of them out during the presentation. If you guys have questions about any of them, please let me know.
Appears not. So I want to thank the applicant for a presentation on that. And Jacob, do we have members of the public who want to speak?
Yes, we have received 3 requests from the public. First request from Susan Breeden. Please do introduce yourself and try and keep your presentation to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Susan Breeden. Thank you. My name is Susan Breeden. I live at 608 Star Rock Drive in Yavapai Hills.
Too far down.
Too far down. Thank you. I have presented a petition to our neighborhood, and you have copies of this. This is to vote no on this rezoning. This petition is to request that there is a not approval for the rezoning to build 6 building apartment complex. But actually on he's building more buildings. Access to and from Highway 69 is a safety hazard. In the future, 69 will be widened and a barrier will be placed in the median, restricting access to the property for only a right turn in and a right turn out. The only access to this property. If emergency responders from Lee, which is the station 75, come out on Lee, they will have to turn left, go all the way down to Sunrise and pull a U and come back to get into the property. That increases the response time, and if you have a medical emergency, this puts minutes time, doubles it. And if you've ever tried to turn a U-turn with a fire truck on 69, it is next to impossible. The drivers are not responding to the sirens and stuff. They do not slow down to let people go. Anyway, the intersection will only get more dangerous with the increase from the over 80 units. From each of those units, there's 82 of them. You figure that there'll be at least 150 to 200 drivers in and out of that apartment complex or more. So this is going to create a big traffic hazard. Planning and Zoning Commissioner's job is to make Prescott safe. Safety should be your first priority. This rezoning of this parcel leads to one-way in and one-way out traffic. The egress does not provide an exit to the property. It is one-way down only, nothing up. And it is not available because it will be locked off. Okay, and they will go, if that uses that for an exit, it goes into Butterfly. Portions of Butterfly are one way. This is not a good exit for any traffic. We
You're
have
at
enough
3
problems. Thank you.
Next up, we have John Suggs.
Hello, my name is John Sugg. I live at 4845 Butterfly. The second X on the right, if you're looking at the petition map. And so I just wanted to reiterate some of the concerns we've had about traffic without repeating what she says. The problem that we've had is trying to get the information so that we can present facts rather than conjecture. And I apologize, there is some conjecture in the letter that I wrote yesterday. Then down to the second one, the second bullet point, I got to apologize because the fenced fire access road locked, I missed it. And so, but my apologies. But what we need really is help from the city to gather the information, and maybe I'll check with you afterward, so that we've got facts and we're well informed. And just like the issue that I had about the fire road in my letter, it's moot now. I mean, as far as we see right here, right now, today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is David Kimmel.
Good morning, Councilman. My name's Dave Kimmel. I'm an Arizona native, a 12-year Yavapai resident. Main concern would be the traffic. If you think about 40%, I believe was the percentage mentioned of people coming out wanting to go eastbound on 69. As they make their right-hand turn, well, they're going to want to immediately go into that left-hand lane to turn a U-turn on Walker. Can you imagine these people dotting across 2 or 3 lanes trying to get over there? The danger that it's going to cause as far as that, or even if they go down to Lee Boulevard, the same thing. Traffic now, as it is always backed up at those stoplights. It's impossible to get around anymore. And then people going into Costco, that's going to be even more backed up as the people do their U-turns around. That's one of my concerns. Another concern would be home values. Our home values in in Yavapai Hills, line of sight. We're up on Shadow Mountain Drive. We look down, total view of the development. Now, if we were to go to sell our house, and here's an 82 building complex down there, and the 4,000 square foot residence with horses, how's that going to do for my home value? Is that going to decrease it? I don't think it's going to increase it any. And the city then would also, as my home value decreases, my property tax would decrease too. So our other concern is on water. We're in a drought, and whether it's this development or some of the other developments that are still in process being planned, how are we going to supply water to all these places? It seems like it's an impossibility. We're going to run out, and then what are we going to do with all the people that don't have water to drink? Wash your clothes, whatever. And it seems, I don't know if the plans for Mr. Lafferty, he built the other apartment complex at 2051. He sold it. When he builds this one, is he also going to sell it? And then will the rent increases with a new developer, new owner, is that going to increase? So these are just my concerns, and hopefully the council will take some of this in consideration too, with some of the letters and some of the petitions that have been submitted. So I do appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would the applicant like to make further comments?
Thank you again. The first speaker missed our presentation. We do have a left end. It's being designed in project F0633 with ADOT. Anthony knows this. We have, if you want a letter of approval, I have it right here for you, or I can give it to George for our left end. So that was a false statement that we do not have a left end. We have specifically worked with ADOT to make sure that no one can turn left out of the project. Same with Costco. It's very dangerous. So that was a misquote. If we want to go through the plan again to show our seating, that the left end decel lane coming westbound into the property and a full stop turning right east out of the property, we can review that, but that is an incorrect statement. Next statement is there's 1,271 residents. This is the petition right here. There are 68 households that signed this petition, 1,100 signatures. So there was multi-signatures per residence. So again, 78 households signed this petition. We need workforce housing. We sat in council meetings, and the main subject when they were talking about the increase in impact fees from 11,000 to 19,000, we sat in that meeting, and so many times lack of workforce housing came up. I'm a work housing developer, and we are doing a workforce housing project. He also mentioned our water use. Our water use is 11.74 acre feet. And so the city, when I started with Dellsview, or 2051, on 2051 Willow Lake, the city was at 0.25 per apartment unit. Then they went to 0.15, and now they're at 0.12. On our current Dellsview, we're not even using 0.10. So the most efficient property, because we don't have a lawn, we have landscape that meets your criteria, which is water conservation. So the acre feet that we're asking is minimal for this for the benefits of the project. The reason we do an impact study, a traffic impact study, is to defend ourselves towards something like this. If you ask any person, do you want more traffic, you're going to get a no. So this, to me, this petition carries little weight because we have done our homework and we have obliged by city, ADOT, water, the Public Works. We've worked with them. We worked through 2 PAC meetings, and they're, what I say, ungrounded on their opinion. This is an opinion. So I also congratulate them for caring and working for their neighborhood. I always, when you have HOA meetings and 120 people come and there's 1,600 or 1,200 residences, those people care. I care. I'm their neighbor. I live there. So I think they're going to be impressed with a beautiful development. And again, I believe this petition does not have merit because it's not grounded. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional questions for the applicant or ADOT? No. I'm sorry.
One way in, one way out. That's all that thing is. That's my statement.
The rule, your rule, is if there's over 200 units, you need 2 access points. We do not exceed that. Dellsview, 2051, had exactly 200 because we did not have 2 exits. So we do have, per your rules, the proper exiting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. George, do you have anything else you want to?
I don't. I would ask our IT folks to put up the staff presentation so that we can run to the very last slide, please. That is staff's recommendation for you today. Your action is a recommendation. Ultimately, this will require a council action in order to enact the rezoning. much of the questions that came up today focused on things like water usage. Mr. Lafferty brought up lighting and requirements there. Those are all development review issues that come up later when we get submitted plans. The city has extensive codes for lighting, for landscape materials, so again, to reduce water usage. All of those are applied at the time permits are submitted. There's no deviation from those requirements during our plan review. That would require some action separate back to you or back to City Council. So with that, if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, this is our recommended action.
Any additional questions? Jim.
Jim Klazuski. I actually would like to make a statement about our need for workforce housing based on what we know is going on in the market. If it might enlighten some folks. I am also a realtor, and I have worked hard with people over the years who have tried to come here and take jobs. Fire, police, teachers, healthcare providers, not talking about doctors or nurses necessarily. We lose people who are looking to take jobs here, and when they come here to find out they can't afford to live here because they can't find housing that's affordable based on the salary that they're getting, they've had to turn down job opportunities, and we have shortages in those areas and other areas. I just dealt with 2 different people in this last week who had, one was a nurse, both of them from out of state. When they came here and found out what it would cost just to rent, it was not affordable for them. So I'm very sensitive to what the folks in Yavapai Hills are concerned with. I used to specifically work to sell Capstone and Mandalay homes there years ago, so I know the area very well. But I also know that a lot of the apartments that we have been looking at and apartments that exist here today, which often is the best chance for people to have affordable housing, they haven't been affordable. The prices of those units have been as high or higher than trying to buy a home. So I think that anything that we can do to encourage affordable workforce housing is important to the community, because it's important for us to be able to fill some jobs that are critical. And in many cases, we're having a hard time doing that when people are coming from different cities or different states.
Okay, thank you. If no further questions, is there a motion concerning this item?
Mr. Chairman,
Tom.
one quick statement. When this place is surrounded by business and other apartments, this already, and if anything, and it's also consistent with the general plan, and I trust ADOT engineering to be able to do the right thing. Thank you. And with that, I would move to approve REZ 24055-005. Move to approve recommendation, whatever.
Yeah.
Subject to
In substantial completion with the submitted site plan.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Jim Whiting, I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jacob, would you call for the vote?
So you're just going to call the roll.
Training the new guy.
Commissioner Klazuski,
Approve.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
I approve.
and Chair Michaelman.
You have 2 others to go yet.
Commissioner Whiting,
Approve.
Riley. Riley.
Commissioner Riley,
Approve.
Now the chair.
and Chair Michaelman.
Approve.
Passes 5-0.
Any updates from staff?
One important one. As you all know, we are updating the city's general plan. It has been in the works for a couple of years at a committee level. That is now going to a public comment period that will begin a week from Monday on the 23rd of the month. There are going to be a couple of physical locations for meetings, as well as on the city's website, planprescott.com, planprescott.com, is a virtual meeting room. So we're encouraging you as commissioners and the public to participate in the open house and the public comment period. That public comment period runs for 60 days. During that period, we also send out copies of our draft plan to other agencies across the state and in the local area to get comments from them as well. And at the end of that, we will bring all of those comments back to the committee for a review and hopefully creation of a final draft to move forward to this body for another review process. So with that, those are the only updates I have.
Before we adjourn, I want to thank the members of the public who take their time to come here and present your ideas and your thoughts. We may not always agree, but we do appreciate the input because we need to have as much input as possible for us to make decisions. So again, thank you for taking the time and effort to come here. And with that, we adjourn.